So when Jason asked me if I'd speak on this, at first I thought, geez, I'm long in the tooth here, and it's time for, I've done quite a few of these over the years, and it's time for the younger guys, and then I found out who else was speaking, and I said, I want to come here and listen to these other guys. So I think I will say yes. And so feel free to have a nap or whatever when, as I'm speaking, because the other three guys are the guys that you shouldn't really be paying attention to. And the three of them, Brian Carskadden is a guy. The original Cherry Crest herd was actually in Russell County. Russell County is just east of the city of Ottawa, and it's a fairly small county, about a third English and 2/3 French. And Brian's original family farm was in Russell County, and the original Cherry Crest farm was in Russell County. And cattle breeding is an interesting thing, how top herds are kind of in certain areas. And there's two herds that are currently in Russell County, is Ferme Gillette and Braydale. And they're like 15 minutes apart. And when you think of the influence that those two herds have in the worldwide genetics business, they're in the same county and they're just a few minutes apart. I think it's really neat on this panel. You've got two of the greatest. If you were to name who are the top 2, 3, 4, 5 judges in the world today, Callum and Brian's name would come right to the top. So I think that's really good that they're here today. And Mark Butt's a man that I haven't known all that long. But when you talk about risk reward, and he's made calculated investments into this business and been very successful, and a very personable guy. And the thing I like about Mark is if you ever want to know something, you just pick up the phone or email him, and you can find some information from him. So really, really great guy, and you're going to really enjoy his presentation. Callum McKinnon is Callum's my brother-in-law, and I've gone to. It's really good that I'm speaking after him, but his presentation, he has a way with animals that's unbelievable. He's almost psychic. And to work at a show with Callum, we're into this age of technology where you don't have to look at a cow, like this monitor on your computer is going to tell you. And I think we're losing in our youth today a little bit of cow sense. And Callum McKinnon he's unbelievable. At a show, first of all, if you're working for him, he doesn't feed you, but that's another story. Breakfast at 2 in the afternoon, like when you needed it or not. But anyway, at a show, he'll have his piece of paper written down with the hours to milk the cows, So he'll have like cheese, milk out the rear udder at midnight or something, And all of a sudden at 10 o'clock, he'll say, I'm going to milk that cow. He has an inner, he knows how, he has a relationship with the animals. He knows how they're feeling. He knows how they're eating. He knows what the temperature is, and he's just an absolutely outstanding cattleman. We are married to 2 sisters, and there's 3 Beerwort girls. And I always say that I got the first choice, because I got married first. And when you're young, you look at different things than when you get older, And Nancy's comfort level to get up in the morning is 6 o'clock, And I thought that was pretty good, And then I find out that my sister-in-law, Sheila, Nancy's sister, Sheila, her comfort level is like 5 in the morning. That she likes to get up, And then I find out Callum's wife, Kathy, her comfort level is like 4 in the morning, And like that's information that I would have liked to have had. And I find out today that Kathy's still milking, doing the milking. And my wife said when she got to be 50 that she wasn't going to milk anymore, And I was like, what? Couldn't you have told me this? Like, need to know information here. And so we get into a joint venture for a few years, and we cut back and we're milking 18 cows, because I thought if we cut back to 18, then maybe we could stretch out the number of years a little bit more, but that didn't work out. But anyway, a tremendous family. To have in-laws like that is absolutely super. Cherry Crest is a fairly small farm. We milk about 60 cows. I guess this is a genetic workshop, and so I won't say much about the management. Suffice to say that we love the business, and we decided early on that we wanted to make money on the genetic side. We kind of have our different enterprises. Maybe if I could just get a little bit of water here. We kind of have our milk enterprise and a genetic enterprise, and it's nothing compared to what some people have. And then we have a very small cash crop enterprise. So I'm just going to go a few things. That's our laneway is almost. Thanks, Jason. You click to change the.
Yes.
Wow.
Like that.
Okay.
And there's a laser pointer.
Good. How do I go back? Okay. Anyway, our laneway is about 1 kilometer long, just under 1 kilometer. So this has been a great winter for us. This is our farm sign. It's actually right close to the Martintown sign. We had a farm sign that went in the big ice storm in eastern Ontario many years ago. We couldn't decide on what to put up for a farm sign, and argued and argued and argued. You know, 2 kids and husband and wife. And finally, I said, "Look, at Nancy, you and Marina, you figure out the farm sign thing, but it can't be too big because we don't want people to think they're arriving at the town of Cherry Crest and not the town of Martintown." You know. So now underneath, you see that little bush there. We just put that up last year. And my wife went to Home Depot or something in the fall, and she saw these solar Christmas lights for $9.99. And she thought, this is what I need, you know, for the end of the roads, these beautiful solar Christmas lights, you know. So she hooked them all up. They are the dinkiest little Christmas lights that you ever see. And my 2 children are totally embarrassed about them. Saw this in a magazine one time, and I think it kind of speaks to the way, to what our belief is. If you treat your farm like a business, it's a great way of life. If you run your farm like a way of life, it's a darn poor business. And the genetic part, when we make at some point, my son, I'd like to see him enterprise everything, enterprise it right down to dollar and cents, how much money he makes every year on the milk part, how much money he makes every year on the part, and how much money we make every year on the cash crop part, separate it right out. But we do a lot of figuring on a item by item business. You bought this cow for so much. This is what your expenses were. This is what your costs were. So I'm just going to go through a few of the cows. And as I go through, it'll show you some of the things that we've been trying to do. A few years ago, the convention sale was in Prince Edward Island. And my wife and I went to the sale, and I was standing around drinking coffee, and my wife she's a beer wart, she was sorting through these calves, you know. There was like 30 little calves there, and she was sorting through them. And she comes over to me and she says, "There's a good calf in this sale." So we looked up what she was, and she was sired by Honeycrest Elegant, and she was from a cow called Whittier Farms outside Ross, and she said, "That calf's selling like 5th last in the sale order. We should buy it, you know." And so I said, "Whatever you say, dear," you know. Actually, I went to a 50th wedding anniversary celebration for some friends of ours, you know, and they asked the husband, they said, "What's the secret to success for being married 50 years?" And he says, "Well, it's really easy." He said, "I make all the big decisions. My wife makes all the small decisions. And in 50 years of marriage, there's been no big decisions to make." So anyway, Nancy picked up this calf, and so we sat around to the end of the sale and waiting for this calf to come through, and you know, we were fooling around, bidding a little bit, and ended up we bought a Damien calf from a cow called Stadacona outside Abel, you know, just on the way by. She was like 4,100 or something. Anyway, finally this calf came in that we were waiting for, you know. She brought 13,000, and we were thinking like 5,000 or 6,000, and we were like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" You know. And we were watching. Albert Cormier was bidding on that calf, you know. Okay, he's not looking for a 4-H calf, I don't think. Barclay Phoenix ended up buying the calf, so we said, "Well, there's a little more to this story than what shows here." So we did a little research. It turns out Whittier Farms outside Ross was regarded as one of the great cows in the business. So we went down to Whittier Farms and we bought a full sister. And that's one thing we've watched over the years, is watch what those guys are doing, because I'll tell you, there's a lot of sharp people in the business. So this is Cherry Crest Final Cut Roz, and she is a Final Cut daughter of the Elegant that we bought from Whittier Farms outside Ross. She was Reserve All Ontario. And when you get into these kind of cow families, it makes your marketing go so much better. Todd Whittier in Massachusetts gets an unbelievable group of visitors. I don't think we've ever had an international person come to our place that hadn't seen Whittier Farms outside Ross. And so it makes it really nice for us to sell embryos. And I'm going to tell you right now, we don't sell embryos for monstrous big money. The embryos we sell for like $500 to $1,600. And we sell, this year we'll probably, the last 12 months we probably sold 150. So we're not big players in the business, but a cow like this suits the breeder market type. She's the highest genomic final cut, which I don't think anybody in the world knows or cares about. Fact of the matter is, she's a really good young cow. She has a bit of a show record, and she's from a big time cow family. And so she's been very easy to market. We had flushed the mother to a bull called Mano Man, and we got 5 heifer calves from that flush. And in the genomic world today, this is just my own personal opinion based on no knowledge really. I don't think there's as big a statistical difference between the 3,000 numbered heifers and the 2,700 numbered heifers as what the prices are indicating today. And that's just my own opinion. So if we get in the past, if we had a really high genomic heifer, we would generally move her on to help pay some bills. So this final cut Roz had 2 Mano Man sisters. One was very high in the States, so we put her in the World Classic. And she went to Seamers in Wisconsin. She brought 35,000. And they're selling today the #1 Winbrook from her in David Crack's sale in Quebec. And I guess Brian said it's an absolutely tremendous calf. And so the family's carrying on pretty well. The other sister we put in the Sale of Stars, and we have 3 at home. We just calved out a Mano Man sister. She's a junior 2-year-old. And does she have monstrous numbers? No. You know, she's like 2,500 or something. But a really good young cow. And for us, there's still a really good market for offspring, for embryos, for really good young cows. That's her daughter by Niagara, so it's kind of a different kind of a pedigree. It's a calf that we showed, and kind of a love him and hate him calf, kind of. She's extreme tall. It's absolutely ridiculous how tall she is. And she's a December heifer, so she'll be a winter yearling this year. And we're having a sale, and she'll go through the sale. If we weren't having a sale, we would have calved her to calve in September, and hopefully to show her as a milking winter yearling. Because it's bizarre how tall a heifer is, but it's the breeding in the family. Niagara's a bull that I don't even know what his pedigree is, but it's not the roll call of the Saints, I'll tell you. But he does seem to leave some pretty good heifers, and so that's, if you have a good cow family, you can do so much with it. That's a heifer that Callum actually had in an intrigue sale a couple of years ago. She's an Alexander, Red Factor Alexander from the Barbies, and she was a calf at the sale. And we bought her actually at the intrigue sale. She's a Red Factor Barbie. So for us, we can't, you know, we're a small herd. We can't compete, you know, with the big time, but we kind of try and find things that would interest people. And certainly the Barbie, there's no more secrets in this cow family business, in my opinion, around the world. It used to be, I think, 20, 30, 40 years ago, that there were cow families that were heavily promoted within the industry that weren't that good. But now, with genomics, with all the information systems we have, with people talking to people around the world on a daily basis, these top cow families, they're good. And if they weren't good, everybody in the world would know about it, and they wouldn't be in demand for very long. So the Barbies is a really tremendous cow family, and we bought this red carrot. She was $26,000. So we flushed her a couple of times as a heifer. We only believe in flushing virgin heifers twice maximum. I don't know. That's just our own opinion. And so we got a net of 13,000 back from that. So we still had 13,000 in her. And then we flushed her to a bull called Colt. We don't use a lot of the young bulls, but Sandy Valley Colt was a really popular young bull. And we got two heifer calves from her. and they're both polled. One's black and one's red. So the polled thing seems to be quite popular right now, and so it's kind of exciting. Not monstrous numbers, you know, like they're both over 2,000 GTPI, but just over 2,000. But in that kind of the business, it's something that really tweaks people's attention. And that's 88-point gold when black heat's her name. Kind of a neat pedigree because, I mean, sometimes I put on my Dave Eastman hat and I say, you know, Dave Eastman's like, this is the top bull amongst the 300 that are over 3 points for type, that are over 500 for milk, that are plus on protein or plus on, you know, anyway, I just teased you, Dave, but it's an interesting cross. She's a Goldwyn, and of course Goldwyn has been the sire of many Supreme Champions, and her dam is an excellent Redman that we actually, it was honorable mention All-American as a heifer, and we sold to Milk Source, and Redman, of course, is the sire of Seisman, you know, that was Supreme Champion, so it's kind of an interesting cross. We bought some Redman, and the next dam is an Astrian. We bought some Redman semen there quite a few years ago, and I went to school with John Gillies, who was involved in the bull, and John said, Redman's a tremendous bull, just don't use them on Astries. And I was like, oh. Anyway, that cross happened to turn out. So she is, I think, the highest DGV red factor Goldwyn, David. Which is kind of neat. The highest, I think the highest red factor Goldwyn is maybe Secret, but she's not as high for DGV. So we flushed her to that colt bull. And we were lucky, we got 3 heifer calves and they were all pulled. The bulls had horns and the heifers were pulled. And here again, they don't have monstrous numbers. I got it written down someplace, but one of them's 2,400 DGV, 2,200 for her actual numbers. But we've never had as much interest in calves in our whole life as these 3 calves. And are they 3,000, you know? No, of course not. But they don't have to be. If you have something a little different, if you've got the cow family and the good breeding behind them, and we did a composite there in the picture, and they're really, really nice calves. So that's turned out really well for us. The Sale of Stars, I was fortunate enough to be involved in the management of the Sale of Stars for 2 years. So when you're selecting sale consignments, there's an expression, it's really true, you select what you would want to buy yourself. And this Val Bisson herd is right down the road from us. They're in Quebec, but they're just across the border, probably 15 minutes away. And we got an Alexander calf consigned, you know, to the Sale of Stars from Val Bisson. The actual original cow that family comes is a cow that Val Bisson bought from Albert Cormier. How many years ago, Albert?
Better talk about it.
Hey?
I'm not
Yeah, maybe 30 years ago, eh? It's like 4 or 5 generations back, you know. So anyway, I took this calf as a consignment for the sale. I came home, I said to my wife, we should buy that calf, the Sale of Stars. That's a good, I really like that calf, we should buy that calf. And of course, first year, and you're all excited about being part of the management. After a while, I said, you know, we can't bid on every calf in the sale, you know. And so I said, let's leave this one aside. It's a good family, but let's leave this calf aside. So I decided that we shouldn't bid on the calf, but I never told my wife. So the calf comes in the ring, and I'm up there doing the pedigrees, and she's away in the back corner. And all of a sudden, I see this arm up in the air waving away, you know, and I'm like, this is a really good calf, and I'm shaking my head like, no, here, don't bid on it. Kind of trying to save our money for something else, you know. But so anyway, we bought the calf, and she calved in. She's an Alexander. She calved in really, really nicely, and she wasn't a big investment. She was $8,000. And you know, if you want to get into the genetics business and you also get a milk check, you know, if you buy something for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 and it doesn't turn out exactly right, but they milk for 2, 3, 4 years, you know, it's not bad. It's really, really not bad. And she happened to turn out really, really well. And the other nice thing about that, it's a cow family that not that many people know about. Probably the majority of people in this room haven't heard of the cow family. I think Herbs maybe had a member of the cow family a while ago, but they haven't been exposed that much. But in the last month, Simon Lalonde from Blondin, he bought her sister by Shottle, and the Shottle's daughter by, help me up, Brian.
Bookham.
Bookham. And so this family will really, really be promoted now, you know. And I don't know what Simone paid for the pair, but it's probably 10 times what I have no idea really than what we paid for that cow. And Simone said that when he gave the guy's a really super guy, and he said when he gave the guy the check, you know, and then the guy gave him the big, boy, is it ever hard, you know, to sell something like this from my herd. You know, I'm selling right from the heart of my herd, and it really hurts my heart, you know, to see this cow leave. And Simone said, I said to him, you can use the check to wipe the tears from you. And he said, oh my God, I shouldn't have said that. The guy's going to get mad at me, but he said the guy laughed too. So this is her daughter by Beacon, and she's 2,400, I think it is. That's not monstrous high, but we kind of focus our breeding program on mainly proven bulls. We use bulls like Colt, but Beacon, Alexander, Goldwyn, you know, not monstrous high numbers, but when it comes to breeding, if I was going to buy something to put into my herd to raise cow family from, I like the certainty of having something like that. Callum had a big sale at his place 2 summers ago, Callum, I guess it was. And so this is a Mac from Ashland that we bought at that sale, and turned out really well for her. She was a beautiful heifer underneath, and she has 3 golden daughters. And here again, I say the same old thing. It's the name family thing. Everybody else does the marketing for you. And so that's been a really, really good thing for us. That's Clarica. I take a few guys around on the road once in a while. I don't like staying home too much. Boy, it was great before my wife was 50, but then my son came home, so it's okay again, you know. So we were on the road one day. I was on the road with Simon Lalonde, and he got a phone call about this cow, and I was just lucky enough to be sitting in the seat beside him, so we went to see her, and then we bought her together. And that's the Clarica cow, and she was 3rd at the Royal as a junior 2-year-old. And 3rd at the Royals is one thing, but when the cow that won that class was Eastside Lewisdale Gold Missy, and the cow that was 2nd was September Cheese that you just saw her picture the Callum on, and this cow is 3rd, it's pretty nice. And if you have genetics like this in your herd, you can sell embryos from them all day long. It's just amazed me about what her embryo marketability has been over the years. So a name family. Great genomics, no, but tremendous cow family, tremendous show cow, and there seems to be demand around the world. And that's the Lewisdale Dundee Samantha. That's what I was kind of saving my money for at the sale of that first sale of stars. She's a Dundee sister to Gold Missy, and that was an interesting, I don't know how many people here were at that event, but Gold Missy sold for, what was it, was it $1 million?
1.2.
1.2 million, actually Mark owns part of the cow. And Gold Missy, she sold for 1.2, and it was such a large amount that it actually hurt the market of the value of the animals from that cow family that sold that day and the next day. And you know what? The cow was worth 1.2 million, and probably a lot more than that. But it just kind of, I don't know what it was actually, but just kind of hit people. And so this was her sister, and she sold she was a milking yearling. Was she a big time heifer? No, but she ended up about 15th at the Royal or something. But we bought her for 15,000, and flushed her to Goldwyn, flushed her to Goldwyn, flushed her to Goldwyn, and I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you that if you invest in cows like that from those kind of families, it's not hard to get a return on your investment. We're actually selling 3 cows in our sale, and she's going to be one of them that we're going to breed the week of the sale for a flush, and they'll be sold, that they'll be flushed the Tuesday after the sale. So whoever buys them, they get the cow and they get the embryos that are inside them type thing, you know. I don't know whether it'll be good or bad, you know, but a cow like this, I don't know what she'll bring, but she gives like 10 to 20 embryos, you know, and she could pay for herself right the next week. Actually, we used to own a cow, and this is called Elkindale Cletus Impala, and that was a dam of Gibson and Cousteau. And one Saturday morning, it was kind of a rough day, and a truck drove in the yard, and this guy came out of the truck, And he had a look on him that he had maybe been at the hotel all night, you know. And I almost didn't go out. His name was Yvon LeBlanc, like, and he was never one to get really fancied up, you know. And I almost didn't go out to the barn, you know. I almost didn't go out, like. But I said, oh, here's somebody, you know, and I'm not the marketer that Callum is there. So I said, well, I'll go out there and see what's going on, you know. Ended up, he bought Alcandel, Cletus, and Pala for $35,000 that day. So you have no idea who's going to walk into your place. And she was on shots for a flush. So the deal we made was that he got that flush. And we kept the cow for him, and we got the next flush. So bingo, $35,000, that's a nice check, you know. Next week we flushed the cow, she had 28 number 1 embryos. So he basically paid for the cow on that flush. We get the next flush, we got 8 embryos, 8 number 1s, 8 pregnancies. So it turned out all right for us too, but it's interesting. Oh, that's her daughter by Goldwyn. She's a summer yearling and a really, really nice cat. She'd be a 3/4 sister to us. That's Cherry Crest Lister Golden. She's 95 points at Milk Source. And she was my daughter's 4-H calf, it's an October calf, and she is proof positive that you never know when you got till it's all over. She was my daughter's 4-H calf. She was champion at our regional 4-H show, and took her to the Royal, and my daughter showed her in the open show. And you know how it is at the Royal, she was an October calf. The last calves, you know, it's kind of like come on in type thing, you know. So anyways, one of these come on in things, and Marina was a little late coming in, you know, and anyway, she ended up last. And I don't know how old she was at the time, but any of you that have daughters that are like 14 years old or they're being last at the Royal with 5,000 people watching, like, it's not a really, you know, the next hour is not a pleasant day. So anyway, so the next year we showed her, and she really did well all year, but I was gun shy, you know. So I got her all ready, and I had somebody come in and clip her, you know, and she was all ready at Royal time. And then the international show in Quebec, we were sending something to the Royal, I forget what it was, but we sent something every year. And the international show in Quebec is just before. So on the Sunday, there was a truck came in to pick up the one that we had going to the Royal. And I think it was Callum's crew, and it was Blair Weeks and some guys like that. And I said, I want you to take a look at this heifer out behind the barn, you know, and I had her all, you know. Anyway, they looked, I said, oh my God, that heifer should go to the Royal. So I said, just what I wanted to hear. So put her on the truck, sent her to the Royal. She was last again. And she was a heifer that could put on weight. She was a heifer that could put on weight in about 3 days, you know. Like, just there is heifers like that. And you get them, she looked perfect on Sunday. But you get them into that Royal environment and beat pulp and everything, and she just put on a little finish, and I showed her, and I'm like the worst showman that ever lived. And anyway, she was last again. So calved out as a 2-year-old and calved out really, really nice. And so we sold her to Simon for $40,000. He sold her the next year for $80,000. And I think, you know, some people in the business say, geez, you know, he made, you know, a lot of money on your cow. You know, well, we made money, you know. And as long as you're making money, you want the next guy to make money, or they aren't going to come back, you know. So he sold her for $80,000 to Milk Source, and she's been a tremendous cow for them. We got a bunch of family members, and there ain't any of them look like her. You know, she's one of those one-off type things. Actually, we had a really good Jersey. I better not talk too long; they get thrown off. But Callum gets into the Jerseys. We had a really, really good Jersey cow, junior 2-year-old. And I thought she was really good, you know, and my wife thought she was really good. My son thought she was really good, and so I was asking $3,500 for her, and so anyway, and I knew if Callum saw her, he would like her, but Callum's really busy. He's around the world all the time, you know, and so I sold her to my other brother-in-law, Tom. So Tom sold her to Callum for, I think, $6,000 or $7,000. Oh, good, yeah, nothing like family, you know. So then Callum showed her at Quebec City, and the one thing that, you know, people say, geez, these guys like Callum, they get these big prices. Well, they work at it. There's a tremendous amount of work and a tremendous amount of effort goes into it, and they get these cattle exposed. So he took her to Quebec City and sold her to Andrew Vandermeulen for, I think, around $9,000 or $10,000. Andrew sold her in his sale for $24,000, you know. But you know what? 3,500 is a nice price, you know, and we're happy with 3,500, and it helped the value of the other family members. So that's kind of the way we look at it. Okay, key points. Top families are in demand. If you want to get into the genetics business, all I know is what has worked for us, and those kind of families. A herd like ourselves, we're not a big herd, and we don't have the financial resources that some people have. But you can still be in the business and you can still make money from it. So we try and look for things that are a little bit different, a little bit unique. Watch what the major players buy. Like if you're at a sale, you just watch that Mark Butts, and when he starts nodding his head, then you take a look at that family. And Mark, you're laughing, but it's really true. Watch what the major players in the business do, because they will help you to market your cattle. This is a belly-to-belly business. We've got so much. They talk about websites and Facebook and all these different things today. This is still, and we've sold embryos, I think, directly because of our website. But the major way that we do business is getting to know people and being out in the industry. And I think if you want to, for us, it's been a very enjoyable thing, the social part of the business, and the relationships make a big difference on what you're doing. And for us, don't overlook markets close to home. We sell a lot of embryos domestically, actually. Is it big money? No, it's not big money. You know, but I'll give you just an example, just because there's people here who are interested in that kind of thing. We bought a wild man heifer from the Lori Sheiks a few years ago. Fluster's a heifer. She had 15 number 1 Goldwyn embryos. So we sold them all to a large commercial. What's commercial? We sold them all to a large dairyman. Okay, 15 embryos, $400 an embryo. That's $6,000. Take off your flushing costs. We paid $5,000 for the heifer. Like, the economics worked. Now, if we put all those embryos in, would we have made more money? Yes, probably we would have made more money, but we don't have the recips. We just don't have the recips. So that was one example. So sometimes we overlook the people that are close to home. My wife said a year or two ago that she wanted a donkey, and finally it hit me. It hit me how important this was. So last fall, and this is a speckled donkey, and his name is Homer, and I bought him for my wife. Some husbands, that wouldn't be the gift that their wife would want, you know, but I bought it for my wife because now I'm not the only ass around the farm. So we're having a sale actually in 5 weeks' time, as Jason mentioned, and the reason is I'm going to be 60 years old this year, and I have a son that's raring to go. He's 24, and my wife and I, this is our herd of cows that we have now, and we've run this herd for, get close to 30 years. And it's those of you that are in the same situation as us, you go 30 years and 2 people make a decision. Puts an interesting twist if you add another person, you know, making all the decisions. And so we've decided to have a complete dispersal, and my son, we're going to do some renovations. My son's going to take over and do whatever he wants, and hoping to get a job coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think there'll be a lot of that. No, but I'm going to do a few other things, help him at home and do a few other things. So, Jason, thank you very much.